Hello social media navigators.
Hey, listen!
Yes, but without a proper long-ass introduction today, I'm getting right to the point of this video. I'm gonna tell you why 2020 has been the best year we've had in the last decade.
What the are you talking about?
If not, how we can still make it the best year as a whole.
Serious?
At least for what's left of it. Before you get your pitchforks out and stone me to death, virtually that is, give me just 1 minute to give you a reminiscent memory image. Let's go back to the very first time we sat behind the wheel of a motor vehicle.
Tina, relax. Easy.
Or, if you want to go further back in time, to the very first time we mounted ourselves onto our first bike.
Here we go!
First time we started to drive, we drove in circles around the community block or at the shopping center parking lot. Same thing, if not a little bit different, when we rode our first bike. You know, it's a very cute sight to see little kids and toddlers when they ride their bikes on their own with training wheels on a straight path. When they get to the end of the pathway, they get off the bike, they grab their bike, turn it 180 degrees to face it back the way they came from, and then they mount themselves back on and they go on their way. It wasn't until we started to drive on busier streets or got onto the freeway. For the kid, first time he was taken to the park where there were turns, hills, puddles, and what have you. When we started to take on these new challenges, when we got exposed to new grounds of getting from point A to point B, the more experienced and better drivers we became. If we always drove around the same block or rode our bike down the same sidewalk, we would have never gotten any better than from when we started. And that's exactly how I see 2020. If it hadn't been for all the shit we got thrown at during 2020 from the very beginning, we hadn't become better humans. Now, I am not saying I became a superhuman or I upgraded from level 1 up to level 100 in a blink of an eye. But it is rather all the lessons that get splattered on our face for us to learn to the best of our abilities. And I say to the best of our abilities because everyone perceives reality completely different regardless of social status. 2020 has given us lots of stressful events that if they hadn't manifested in the way they did, we probably wouldn't have come down to the realization of this cruising lane on the road of life was blinding us from, making us think there's absolutely nothing wrong with us. Humanity, that is. And I strongly believe that's precisely where the first line of errors lie on. Let's just say you have a perfect job, a great household, a loving family, and everything is just going just as you wished. But at what point would you realize there's so much improvement you can personally do for yourself? How do you know you can grow so much more besides cruising the road of life? If there's nothing wrong going on with your life, why improve? Why develop? Why bother? Like they say, if it isn't broken, why fix it? Right?
Nope, you're wrong.
Kind of. Sort of. Kind of wrong, because there's always room for improvement. There may not be anything to fix, but if there's a slight chance to enhance anything that's going so perfectly in your life, then why not have at it? How would you know what areas you can improve on if there's absolutely nothing going on in your life?
I don't know.
Well, that's why occurrences and incidents like 2020 occur, and we have to be thankful for it. I know that calling 2020 an incident, it's rather a specious term, but stick with me here now. With Thanksgiving just right upon us, we have to be thankful for everything 2020 threw at us. From here on out is where us and anyone who might have gotten affected in one way or another this year have to do our due diligent work. Because everything is work. No success is easy. If that was the case, everyone would be a successful millionaire. And if you disagree with this statement, there may be a few nuts and bolts that may need to be looked at. There may be some brain computing puzzles that may need calibration.
How dare you!
I will not discuss specific events or topics such as politics or worldwide health crisis. But it is very important we evaluate the perspectives we have towards everything that ensued in 2020. How do we do that? Well, we usually waste time and dwell back on why is this happening to me? If we only take the necessary time to recover and take that one adversity as a lesson rather than a misfortune, there will always be this slight crack of opportunity that you can get something good out of it. It all comes down to the perspective on it. I will give you an example that hit us all who create content here on YouTube. And that was one of the very first things a lot of people lost their minds because they didn't know what the fate of their channels was gonna end up at, myself included. I'm talking about the new FTC and COPPA regulations that kicked in right at the beginning of the year. Many people and channels got affected by these because it was their only source of income. But only those who saw these as a true challenge and not so much as a setback took the initiative to expand upon their field of work. If they were innovative enough, they knew they could ramify their businesses through other networks. Not so much social media platforms, but other resources they had right in front of their faces and they never saw it. Example, if you were one of these channels that got affected by the new regulations and YouTube was your only source of income, perhaps opening an online store with merchandise of your brand could have been an opportunity for you to expand on your brand if that wasn't already the case. I'm gonna be honest and will admit I was one of those content creators with a deep concern of what the fate of our channel was gonna end up once the new regulations took effect. As a matter of fact, this channel had a 2-month hiatus. But in the 2 months we were absent from YouTube, I kept on working towards alternatives. Everything I had worked so hard for, I started to do the work, the real work to seek out options to see how I could keep this channel afloat. This work consisted of heavy research and even reaching out to legal advisors. Yes, lawyers. You're probably asking yourself, dude, why were you making such a big fuss then for a channel as small as yours? The answer is simple. Just doing the work. Doing something versus not doing anything at all. The answer was also that I kept a positive mindset and an optimistic perspective. Another question you may be asking yourself, why go through all that trouble for a channel like yours that isn't even making a dime? The answer is simple once again. The hustle and the grind, sustaining the work, just as it should be with anything else you want to get a successful result out of. And it is no different with anything else in life. For example, the very first job you got, likely you got paid minimum wage. And in some cases, if it was an unpaid internship, you got nothing but the experience of working on that line of work. It wasn't until years and years, many years later, until you were finally able to make a living out of that job or career. In whichever way you want to be successful, it's going to take a lot of time for you to accomplish that. Nothing happens overnight, and in the meantime, you gotta put in the hustle and the grind. But only when you're presented with obstacles, challenges, and setbacks, it will only make you better in that line of work. It doesn't matter if along the way you stumble and fall. It doesn't matter if you fail once or twice, 3 times, or many times. Although you may not see it at the time, those impediments are polishing you to become the better version of you. Once I got the assurance I could keep creating YouTube content, of course following the guidelines, policies, and regulations, my hard research work paid off right away. And proof is that when InGENIUSES rolled into 2020, it had less than 90 subscribers. Now 11 months later, that number spiked up an approximate 250%. A spike I never imagined because it took us 3 years alone just to get up to 100 subs. I don't want to sound like I'm bragging about it, but the persistence and positive mindset I engraved in my head paid off. I gotta say though, that this spike in my subscribers count spiked up all because of a group of people I got presented to. The gaming community. You guys. If you're watching this video, chances are you are a follower. And if you're not following yet,
What are you waiting for?
I'm doing this video because of you. I couldn't be more thankful and grateful for the tremendous amount of support I've gotten over the last 11 months. But of course, I do not want to dishonor everyone who has been following and supporting InGENIUSES from day one. You are all truly appreciated. Having to be the season to be thankful, even though you gotta be thankful every single freaking day of your life for everything you got. There's one particular person I wanna thank, because if it hadn't been for him, I wouldn't have met the amazing gaming community I know now. The astounding gaming community I couldn't be more proud to be part of. I owe it all to none other than our late friend, Dr.JoshDaRealGamer. Gamer. Dr. Josh was always there engaging with our content, either here on YouTube or through our other social media platforms. It was because of Dr. Josh that I kept putting out content, because he was always smiling, and he kept that ignition spark in me to not give up regardless of what was to come. He constantly invited me and dragged me onto other people's channels to go check them out. And for as small as the channel InGENIUSES was back then, I was still trying to figure out lots of things within the content creating. I know, I'm still a small channel, I'm still trying to figure out lots of things, but that's the fun part of it, because I'm right in the middle of the process, and that's where growth happens. Once again, Dr. Josh, thank you for everything you did for us here in InGENIUSES. Many of you probably don't have the tiniest little bit of idea what a great impact Dr. Josh was for InGENIUSES. May you rest in peace, brother. Or as I used to call him, our InGENIUSES gaming godfather. Love you, man. I can't possibly sit here and pretend that I'm gonna give you some sort of life advice or positive insights for you to do the best out of your lifestyles, but I sure as hell can tell you that if you still haven't cut yourself a piece out of the 2020 pie, it is not too late for you to take a moment and assess this unparalleled era and see if there are any benefits you may gain out of it. And I say benefit because while others are just playing sitting ducks, you can still get ahead of the game by taking the initiative to do something about it, to learn from it, teach, coach, or mentor someone. For as stressful, for as an ass whooping 2020 has been, I want to dare to say it has been a fun ride. Because of Dr. Josh, because of you guys, the gaming community, the viewers, the followers, the non-followers, and those of you who engage with our content in one way or another. Because of what's to come, that is why I am deeply thankful. I don't know what's coming in 2021, 2022, but I sure as hell looking forward to see what opportunities will be presented for me to grow. Because of the challenges that await me, the tests of life just around the corner. Because if there aren't any hardships, how else do we grow? How do we move forward? Sure as hell not cruising down memory lane 24/7, 365 with no direction to be determined. Sure as hell not riding our bikes on a straight line back and forth. If you want to learn and grow, you have to find a way to make the best out of every situation a learning experience. Whether it turns out the way you plan to or not, putting in the work to overcome straining times will get you ahead of those who are not willing to hustle. I just want to ask one thing from you, the viewer. Take this video with the most constructive angle you possibly can. And do not think that in any way I had a great year myself, because in reality I wouldn't say I did. But once again, I am super grateful for everything I have. What I lost or didn't accomplish, it's in the past, and I'm sure as hell not gonna freaking fucked up on my neck because I keep looking back at what could have or should have done. If they were lessons to be learned, I did my best to do so. If you inhabit yourself in just one misfortune, someone else will get ahead of the game, will get ahead of you just because you refuse to move forward. Don't be that person. I want to thank you once again and again and again for being part of InGENIUSES. I hope and wish from the bottom of my heart that everything turns out for the better going forward. But remember, when trouble strikes, make trouble your friend.
Trouble is a friend. Yeah, trouble is a friend of mine.
So it doesn't become so hard to adjust to the everlasting life turns and transformations. We at least have to try to cope with abrupt life privations in the best way we can. Until next time, take care of yourself, take care of your loved ones, love to all, and I'm very excited for what's to come. Thank you so very much. Have a great, fun, and safe holiday season, and I'll see you next time. Ciao.